What's up, y'all? It's Super Producer Self-Service, and this is my story. My name is Hinson. I was born in Queens, New York, Jamaica Hospital in 1967. That makes me 51 years old today. And growing up in Queens, when I was young, I got in a little trouble. When I was a kid, and I ain't had to, man. I was born and raised, my mother and father's ministers and evangelists. And I just chose to go the wrong route. And coming up in life, I made a few bad choices. Ended up going to prison for a little while, and then I got into music in 1994. I never was really into music. I just was, I had a lot of friends like Rockwilder, DJ Sage, Baby J, Irv Gotti, and all of them who was in the music thing, but I ran with Chris, and we was a little older. I'm from Shadyville, known as Shadyville OG and everything, but that's where I grew up at, in the Shadyville section of Queens, and I was more into the street than I was into the music thing. I never went and had any music lessons, or never played any pianos, or I just got in trouble, basically. And then I got in trouble. I ended up going to prison for a couple of years. In a long term, the stretch, it was roughly about 8 years altogether. Spots and all that. Not straight, but just spots. But when I got home, one of my friends seen me about to go back to prison. And, back on the same path, the, recidivism rate or whatever that's called, and go back to prison. And I didn't, he didn't want me to go back. And this friend of mine named is Gavin Ray, and he had a child at the time by Salt from Salt and Pepper. They had a place, and he told me he wanted me to be the security there and to watch over Salt, be basically her personal bodyguard. When I came up from prison, I was a big dude. I was real brolic and all that, and I was really, like I said, headed back toward the street. But long story short, they took me in and helped me out and tried their best to keep me out of going back to prison. And then one day we was in the studio in Cheryl's house, and she was sitting there writing, and I'm playing with this keyboard. And then on the keyboard, it had no manual or nothing. Nobody never used the keyboard. It was just there all the time. And she had a rack of keyboards, a whole bunch of keyboards, but it was just a rack. And then she said, man, take this thing home and see if you can figure it out. There ain't no manual, it's nothing. Just see if you could put something together and figure the thing out. And I said, you sure? She said, yeah, you can go ahead and take it home. And I took it home, and I locked myself in the basement and kept picking at the keys to, trying to make it work. These was the cassette tape there. There was no computers. There was no U2s. There was nothing. This was just SSL boards, and it was an ASR 10 keyboard, like one of the best samplers on the planet. I wish I had one right now, but the sampler was incredible. And I would sample from cassette tapes of music. Like back then, I didn't even do it from turntables. I would sample from cassette tapes, and then I would take the samples, and I locked myself in the basement. I'm playing, and I took it out to the block. We all hung out on the block on Hinson and Springfield, and I took it out there to my man Carl and played some of the cassette tapes. And dudes were like, "Yo, these tracks is banging, man." And I'm like, "Word," all the time thinking niggas is playing with me or whatever, but. Shy Money excels from my neighborhood, and I asked him to help me with the ASR 10 to help me learn it. And long story short, that didn't go too good, but you know what I'm saying? But he was doing his thing, and then he said, I ain't getting no help, and I figured it out myself. And then one day I was in this barbershop, and I had took the ASR 10, I'm making beats and shit in my hood. And I took the beat machine to this barbershop, and I'm in the basement of June and Malik's barbershop in Jamaica and Springfield. And Eat 'em Up, who was Onyx's manager at the time, came in to the barbershop to get a haircut. And he heard the music playing in the basement, and he was like, yo, who making tracks downstairs? And then he came downstairs and was like, yo, we need you to come to the studio and all that. You might be able to sell some beats to Onyx. at the time. Then at the same time, Gavin was also working with Smith & Wesson, Tech and Smoke. What up, Tech? Tech and Smoke from Smith & Wesson at the time. Yeah, they was called Smith & I forgot the other name, but I'm a little lost. But I ended up going to the studio with them. Gavin took me to the studio with Smith & Wesson, and then they ended up buying 5 Bs for me for Helter Skelter. And then for Smith & Wesson, the very first track I had that ever hit the radio was Black Trump. And I remember when everybody called me, it was like, yo, your joint playing on the radio, son. And I'm like, get the fuck out. And I played the radio and it was playing and all that. So now this back in like 1996 or something like that. But I sold the 5 Bs to Helter Skelter and Smith & Wesson, and they gave me like $3,000 per beat. I ain't never seen that kind of money before. I was always hustling or trying to rob somebody and all the rest of that. Never got a chance to see that real money like that because I was always a worker for other niggas. But, you know, it turns out that they loved everything and paid me the $3,000 per beat. And then Onyx and them called me, and then that's when I did 7 beats for them for $5,000 a piece. And I said, man, I could do all this shit without the police fucking with me or chasing me or nobody bothering me about my money without getting in trouble, looking on my shoulder, not buying anything. And I'm like, damn, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to stick to this, you know what I'm saying? So straight from prison now, straight from prison. Like, the end of the same year, all of this just happened so fast.